Welcome to Chapter 3. If you enjoy the story, please leave a comment, good or bad. Your feedback helps me improve. Just moments ago, the city was normal. Warm sunlight, quiet streets, ordinary lives. No one knew the sky above them was already beginning to change. Green light. The city keeps moving. Everything feels ordinary, and that's what makes it terrifying. Because the first warning wasn't a scream, it was silence. Inside the car, everything felt safe. Warm light on the dashboard. Quiet breathing. Ollie stared out the window, letting the city slide by. He didn't know this would be the last time the world felt normal. His father's hand rested on the wheel like it always did, steady, familiar. That small red thread on his wrist, a quiet promise he never said out loud. Ollie watched him without thinking. He didn't realize he was memorizing the last peaceful details. His mother turned back with that same gentle smile, the kind that made the world feel smaller, safer. For a second, Ollie believed nothing could touch them. He didn't know the sky was already marking them. Quietly, patiently. Ollie didn't speak. He rarely did. He just watched the city drift past the window. Buildings, sunlight, ordinary lives. For once, his chest felt quiet, like the world had finally stopped asking him to prove something. Sarah noticed him staring out the window and smiled, not to ask questions, but to remind him he wasn't alone. Ollie didn't say anything. He didn't need to. In that quiet look between them, there was a kind of peace words couldn't ruin. From Ollie's seat, the city looked the same as always. Buildings drifting by, sunlight on glass, people living like nothing could ever break. And somewhere above it all, a small tear in the sky waited to be noticed. The first warning wasn't visual. It was a sound, a tiny break in the music, a brief hiss of static. Like the world's signal had slipped for half a second. No one panicked. Then, a flicker, so small you could blame your own eyes. The sky shimmered for a heartbeat, right where that dark scar had been hiding. And in that instant, the air itself felt thinner. Ollie blinked, just once, but something felt wrong, like the light didn't belong to the sun. He couldn't name it. He only felt it in his chest, a quiet pressure, a warning without words. And for the first time, he truly looked. The music didn't just crackle this time, it broke. A harsh hiss filled the car, like a torn signal trying to hold itself together. For a moment, even the sunlight felt wrong, as if the world was losing its rhythm. Before people understood, nature did. Birds exploded from the rooftops, scattering like something invisible had screamed at them. The city didn't hear it, but the sky had changed, and every living thing could feel the pressure building. Then her smile faded, not from fear, yet, but from instinct. Something in the light felt off, like a storm forming without clouds. She looked up through the windshield, and for the first time, she hesitated. At first, it looked like nothing, just a thin line in the blue. But it didn't fade. It stayed, like the sky had started to crack. The will didn't change, but his grip did. A quiet tightening, like the body reacting before the mind understands. The light flickered again, almost mocking. And somewhere ahead, that thin crack in the sky refused to disappear. For a moment, the sun felt weaker. Not like a cloud passed, but like the light itself hesitated. The street stayed the same. The traffic kept moving. Yet the city suddenly looked unfamiliar, as if the world had exhaled and forgot to breathe back in. The first tremor was small, almost polite. Cars ahead tapped their brakes like something spooked them. No one knew why. No crash. No warning. Just a quiet shake. And that crack in the sky stretching a little wider. Sarah's hand found the seatbelt without thinking. A small reflex, like her body knew before her mind did. Ollie lifted his eyes toward the windshield. The air felt heavier, tighter, and that thin crack in the sky wasn't fading anymore. It was staying. His father's eyes moved before he spoke. Up, toward the windshield, toward the sky. The crack wasn't imaginary anymore. It was longer, sharper, real. And in that quiet second, his expression changed, from curiosity to protection. He didn't wait for proof. He eased off the speed, eyes scanning the road like a man counting exits. Something was wrong, and instincts don't argue. Behind the windshield, the crack stretched farther, and his only thought became simple: get them away. The turn came fast. No warning, just a decision. The car cut into a side street, away from the open road and the wide sky. For a second, The buildings felt like shelter. But even here, the air still trembled, and the crack above them kept growing. The side street felt safer, narrower, quieter, but the tremor followed them. The mirror swayed, the light stuttered, and between the buildings, the crack in the sky looked closer. Not bigger because it moved, but because it was finally impossible to ignore. And then it happened. Not a scream, not an explosion, just a green tear opening at the end of the street. Small, quiet, like a doorway that had always been there, waiting for someone to notice. Everything broke at once. People ran without knowing where to run. Cars stopped in the middle of the road, horns, shouting, panic. His father slowed the car, steering like every second mattered, because it did. And in the green glow ahead, the city realized these weren't just lights. It wasn't one gate. It was dozens. Green tears opening across the city like a spreading infection, on sidewalks, on walls, between buildings. People ran without a plan, cars froze where they stood, and the streets that felt familiar 5 minutes ago became a maze of glowing exits to nowhere. The city didn't explode, it froze. Traffic locked in place like a single, panicked animal. Some people ran, others just stared, unable to move. And far away, sirens finally woke up, too late to stop what was already stepping through the green light. The streets were screaming, but the real danger wasn't on the ground. Above the buildings, the crack had changed, thicker, darker, alive. It wasn't just breaking anymore. It was becoming something, and the sky was running out of time. He didn't stop to think, he moved. The car slipped between metal and panic, inches from scraping paint. Every gap became an exit. Every second became a decision. Behind them, the streets clogged like a trap, and ahead, the green glow promised something worse. Sarah didn't think. She moved first, like instinct taking control. Her arm locked across Ollie's chest, pulling him in, shielding him from the chaos outside. Ollie was 18, old enough to understand what was happening, and young enough to feel it hit like a nightmare. The green gate didn't stay quiet. It pulsed, once, twice, and the street answered. Dust slid across the pavement. Paper spun in circles. The air itself started to lean toward it, like the city was being slowly inhaled. And behind that light, something moved. And then it finally happens. Something crosses the line. A small, hunched goblin steps onto the sidewalk, barely taller than a child, but moving like a predator. Green mist coils around its legs as it tilts its head, sniffing the city air. The gate crackles behind it, and the street realizes this is only the first. Another gate, another creature. It steps out like it's done this before. Then a scream echoes from down the street, and the goblin's head snaps toward it with a sickening speed. Not confusion, recognition, like it just found the direction of its next meal. It didn't roar like a movie monster. It just ran, fast, low, hungry. A civilian sprinted for their life, feet slipping on the sidewalk. And behind them, the goblin closed the distance like it belonged here. The green gate glowed in the background, quiet proof that the city had been invaded. They made it through the chaos, and then the chaos closed around them. No lane to turn into, no room to breathe. And just beyond the windshield, a green gate glowed. Then the father realized, they are trapped. Then a green gate appeared beside the car, and a goblin's hand emerged from it. Everyone in the car was terrified, feeling that the hand was trying to reach them. The crack wasn't just growing, it was spreading, like the sky had turned to glass, and something on the other side was pressing harder. Above the city, fractures branched in every direction, silent, unstoppable. And down below, green gates kept appearing, as if the world was being opened piece by piece. The first dive wasn't far away. It was right there, on the pavement. A man fell, and the goblin didn't hesitate. In that moment, everyone understood the truth. He didn't have time to explain. The streets were blocked, and the danger was closing in. His jaw tightened, decision made. Not a perfect plan, just the only move left. He reached for the door, looked at his family once, and said the words that changed everything. Out. Now. They didn't even get the chance. The decision to escape was still hanging in the air, and then the truck hit. A wall of steel slammed into their car like a wrecking ball. Glass burst. Metal folded. The sedan lurched sideways, trapped between panic and traffic. In one heartbeat, everything changed. The hit didn't stop at bending metal. It lifted the whole car off the ground. For a heartbeat, The sedan hung there, weightless, wrong. Then gravity grabbed it hard. Glass sprayed, metal screamed, and the world began to roll, until it slammed the ground like a collapse. One by one, the car spat them out. His father, then his mother, then his sister Sarah, and then Ollie, the last to leave the wreck. Time slowed, and he fell without a sound. When it finally stopped, the street went quiet. The car lay upside down like a crushed shell. They were scattered across the asphalt, separated by force and chaos. Ollie didn't move, eyes closed, body limp, as if the crash had stolen his consciousness and left only silence behind. After the crash, the street should have been quiet, but the air changed. Far down the road, something formed, small, dark, like a wound in reality. It swallowed light, and the dust began to drift toward it. The tear didn't fade, it grew. Wider, deeper, like the sky was being forced open from the inside. The street's dust began to slide toward it, pulled by something that didn't belong here. And then, a shape appeared within the darkness. Horns, shoulders, a presence too large to be real. It wasn't a normal gate. It didn't shine. It ate the light around it. The tear widened until it filled the street, a vertical void, breathing in dust, sound, and fear. And behind that darkness, something waited, not stepping out yet, just letting the world understand how small it was. The gate opened wider, until it stopped being a tier and became a doorway. The air bent. The dust moved, like it was being dragged by fear itself. Then the darkness shifted. A horned shadow stepped forward, not fully revealed, just enough to touch our world. And when its shadow hit the street, everything felt small. The shadow finally stepped out, 1 foot on our ground, and the street went still. No roar, no warning, just a presence so heavy it felt like the world was holding its breath. This is where Chapter 3 ends. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Chapter 4. The horror begins.